This is a new design. A fundamental rethink of the structure of the bicycle, the work of engineer Mike Burrows. Perhaps another Gary Fisher? A single piece of bonded carbon fiber does away with the tube frame. The front wheel spokes are aerodynamically cast to reduce drag. And the wing-like handlebars cut air resistance by a factor of 10. Light as a feather, the wheels are attached on single cantilevers. And as with the pedals and chain, everything is held together on one cohesive unit called the monocoque.
This is a very advanced and superior design. I wouldn't be at all surprised to find designs of this sort proliferating in the racing world. But racing doesn't seem to me to be the natural ecological niche of a bicycle. A high-technology bicycle like this seems to be out of the mainstream of the important social uses of a bicycle. For ordinary use, I don't think it really points the way to the future.
But if the Far East gets interested, Mike Burrows could be a millionaire. David Jones is a science consultant to industry. In analyzing basic bicycle design, he's worked out what makes a bike rideable.
If you look at an ordinary bicycle, the steering axis hits the ground slightly ahead of where the front wheel touches. And that's significant because it gives the bike a little bit of stability. Not too much, because then it's hard to ride. But if you turn the front wheel round, and I've adapted this bicycle to make it possible, now the steering axis hits the ground well ahead of where the front wheel touches. That makes this bicycle very stable.
So stable, it'll go on forever. But even with handlebars, an awkward ride. Which is why practical bikes have forward curving front forks, a compromise between stability and rideability. The bicycle wheel, too, is a tried and tested design. Spokes are an elegant combination of lightness and strength. For the faster wheel turns, the heavier its inertia. A gram saved on the wheel is worth a kilo off the frame. Early wheels were built of wooden struts, a heavy compressed structure. The spokes, which hold the wheel in suspension, make it lighter. And tangent spokes make it stronger, forming triangles, the strongest geometric construction. Brake design has always been a problem. Whether hub, disc, or a new caliper like this, a truly reliable brake has yet to be engineered. Gears are a different story. This is Sturmey Archer, maker of the world's best-loved 3-speed hub. A century-old design fitted to 80 million utility bikes and reliable because the gears are protected within the hub. Hub gears are easy to shift, simple to maintain. But they dissipate a lot of the rider's power, and there's too big a jump between gears. By contrast, the derailleur is an exposed gear system. Invented by Tullio Campagnola in 1933, it's crude engineering that can work like a dream. Modern thumb shifts take a rider through a score of finely indexed gears. Sophistication which is up to 99% efficient at transmitting power to the rear wheel.
Can you touch that cable out now?
No.
But gears, wheels and frames are mere tinkerings to a bicycle design which dates from 1885.
2 kilograms, can you hold that steady, please?
David Jones is checking the calibrations of a wind tunnel.
2 kilograms gives us a nice 40.
It's by tackling the aerodynamics of machine and rider that engineers believe bicycle design will be fundamentally improved.
There we went, very nice 80, that's 40 newtons.
The efficiency of different bikes is being tested at 20 miles an hour. Wind speed is checked against the distance traveled by a polystyrene chip in 1/50th of a second. The tunnel is deemed accurate. Least efficient is the high wheeler, with the rider offering a lot of resistance.
Observe how that stream is breaking up around the back of his head. There's obviously a vortex there.
Little better the traditional roadster. 75 on the meter, a drag of 3.8 kilos. The sports bike is much better.
I'd expect higher than that, actually.
38, 2 kilos of drag.
There's not as much drag on this speed as we'd guessed.
And with a racing model, a marginal improvement. It gets better the lower the rider crouches, down to 1.7 kilos. And drag can be shaved a fraction more to 1.65 kilos with a racing helmet, and to 1.6 kilos with aerodynamic handlebars. But nothing tested so far can match this reading at over twice the wind speed. This is the Bean, possibly the most aerodynamically efficient bicycle ever built, designed to chase speed records with its low, super sleek profile.
Then you get a major improvement. That was giving us only of the order 0.6 of a kilogram at 45 miles an hour speed, which scaled down to 20 is only about 0.15 kilograms. So that's a major advantage, but at the cost of a totally impractical vehicle.
Unlike the Bean, these machines are made for practicality. Pedal tricycles enclosed in carbon fiber fairings. They're ridden in a semi-recumbent position, like a child's pedal car. A Danish invention called the Lytra, good for commuting and touring, and with a payload for shopping. The brainchild of engineer Carl Rasmussen. The Lytra is a mobile overcoat, offering protection from the weather, snappy dogs, and the splashes of bigger vehicles. It's nippy too, and light enough to be carried out of traffic jams. Carl Rasmussen commutes thousands of kilometers a year, even through heavy snow. Winchester, Massachusetts, and a recumbent built for two. David Gordon Wilson weekend shopping with his wife and spending significantly less energy than riding a conventional tandem. The recumbent, Gordon Wilson believes, is the bicycle of the future. But it's a design of the past, never catching on despite possibly 25% less drag than a conventional roadster.
Recumbents have been introduced into the bicycling scene in the 1880s, the 1890s, the 1900s, and so on and on. And in the 30s, a particularly successful recumbent was pedaled by a second-class racer in France and beat the world champion over many distances.
The records didn't stand. The recumbent was ruled not a bicycle.
Bye-bye, sweetie.
Rain, hail, or storm, Gordon Wilson commutes the 8 miles to work on his solo recumbent.
It only seems unusual because of the almost dead uniformity of the regular bicycle. Its adherents think that it has so many advantages that it will eventually take over. I think there's been a lack of development because of the dead-handed regulation. And when that has had the power to rule out pretty well any development, the result was bicycle companies became extremely conservative. So no adventurous engineer ever went to work for a bike company.
Gordon Wilson teaches mechanical engineering at MIT. He developed jet engines for Boeing. Would that bicycle engineering had the thrust of the big battalions?
Oh, it's mouth-watering to think what might happen if you had NASA or General Motors working on a bicycle.
The shape of things to come. The recumbent, today the speediest in bicycle design.
Once it's got a fairing round, then the combination of a low frontal area and a streamlined shape that gives something near the optimum for a streamlined body, which is a length-diameter ratio of about 4.5 or 5, it happens to fit rather well. So that's why it gets up to its very high speeds.
Modified track racing bicycle in there.
These are the annual speed championships of the International Human Powered Vehicle Association.
77, supernatural. 13.7 for Supernatural, a top speed of 32.65 miles per hour.
This is Gold Rush, the fastest bicycle on Earth. 64.5 miles per hour from the muscles of a human being.
It's intriguing to think that the body, therefore, is an engine, but it isn't, because if it were, the second law of thermodynamics would say that to develop that efficiency, the temperature within your body would have to be hundreds of degrees Celsius, and we know it isn't. So therefore, the body is a kind of fuel cell.
Go!
And the bicycle is the most efficient means of converting the output of that fuel cell into locomotion. These championships sprang from an idea by David Gordon Wilson. He wanted to recreate the competition and enterprise of the late 19th century, the atmosphere which gave birth to the safety bike. Freed of the narrow design rules and politics of international bike racing, these races demand innovation, and one day, the big idea.
You can imagine being able to wiggle your ears and having a little mechanism getting your power output from that and doing this sort of thing and wiggling your arms. But the evidence at the moment seems to indicate that if you did all that, if you trained all the muscles in your body to twitch and you had magnificent machines that collected all this energy, your heart and lungs would be overloaded. So my guess is that the legs are a good match and the legs and the arms are probably better. But beyond that, that's probably too much.
And why not a water bike? A $25,000 prize awaits the first craft to reach 20 knots. Another for the first human-powered helicopter. For cycling, the sky's the limit.